All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to our wholesale reconnect wholesale walkthrough with one of our lead investors, one of our go-to investors, my guy, Chinedu in the CB, one of my guys here. But we have my co-host here, Big Jason and Jerry and myself. How you guys doing? You guys excited about this one?
Man, this boy Chin, man, I just want to say, bro, I commend you, bro. You are really the epitome of taking action, right? And so, man, congratulations to you on this new deal. It's in Kentucky, and where you at? New York, somewhere, hanging out, Atlanta. So, bro, this is, I'm excited. I'm excited to hear what you about to share, how you put this thing together, right? So I'm ready.
Mr. McCracken.
What's up? What's up, everyone? Welcome in to our We Connect family. This is our real estate investing community where we're showcasing endless properties being done, deals happening all the time. And we love to share with other people. So if this is your first time, sit back, relax, uh, take some notes, be prepared to ask some questions, and also be prepared to do a little talking because we're going to have a little interaction because we want to help everyone progress in their real estate, but we'll get to that. But yeah, man, this guy Chinedu y'all about to hear from, he started off like all of us, right? Not knowing anything. And like Jerry was mentioning, his transformation has been like utterly amazing. And I'll let him tell you his age, how long he's been with the community, like his little background. But what I do want to say, it took him time to get to where he is today. But the one thing about that is he had to start, right? And all of us have our starting point. You might look at here how he's talking now, but I could tell y'all, I was here when he first got here, and the properties he would bring in were definitely not deals, right? He's talking, looking at these $1 million houses, all this crazy stuff. But the great thing about it, he was open to take constructive criticism. And more importantly, he was open to invest into his knowledge and learning. So, without further ado, I want to bring out my guy, Mr. Chinedu. Going out real quick, talk a little, your background, tell them how you got fired, all that stuff, man, to where you are today, my
That's what got fired.
man.
Man, happy Wednesday, everybody. You guys can hear me clearly?
Yes, sir.
Nice. Perfect. Okay, my name is Chinedu. I'm a CBay. I'm here out in Queens, New York, born and raised, and I've been with this community for about, man, 5 years. It's been 2021. Yeah, it's been 5 years. And man, it's so cool to look back and reflect on, your old situation and be like, man, I lasted long enough to see it out of it. So I built the community 5 years. When I got here, I just got fired from Starbucks and just had graduated college too. I really thought I was gonna be a lawyer. Like I really stuck it out, graduated, got my bachelor's degrees in law, and quickly knew that that's not the route I wanted to go. But it really took me, so long to figure out, what's my next step. Spent 12 years learning in school and didn't really know about myself or the things I was good at or what I liked, especially not about real estate or taxes and none of this business stuff that I'm into right now. So yeah, joining this community has been so great. It's been like a breath of fresh air to come from where I come from. It was really rough starting off. I got no credentials, no knowledge, no resources, no money. Um, and then 5 years later, after learning, educating myself and surrounding myself with, people who are also educated and taking action themselves, it just rubbed off on me. And here I am, 5 years later, just really grateful for the opportunity to still be here, still be active, and continuing my journey along the way and sharing it and continue these, like just just switching it up and still learning, doing the things that got me here. So I'm very grateful to share this opportunity. I know there's some wholesalers here, so shout out to my wholesalers. It's not easy. It's not easy, man. This strategy is a lot of the dirty work, a lot of the the extra work that no one really knows or vocalizes, like how much work it really is. But I'm so excited to share this deal because I finally got an easy one on my hands. So I'm excited to share it, and hopefully, you guys can take that and push in the right direction to get educated also.
So you said you 45. How old are you?
45. Oh, look.
Oh my God, you offended him.
Now, I am 29. I'm 29. I'm holding it down for the 20-year-olds. I am yes, I'm so grateful for my youth and that I got an early start, really being able to, you know, learn from the older guys and women as well to, shape my path early on in life.
Nice, nice. All right, let's get into it. You want to share this, guys, when we do it?
Yeah, you can share it.
Okay, cool. No problem. And again, you can follow him. He's a real investor. You can follow his journeys on IG, relationship.rich. He's all about relationships and relationship building. Again, here's a disclaimer. Again, examples made shows a result of real estate applied, real estate investing, education, and seeking guidance and support, but it's not representation of typical outcomes. Individual results may vary depending on many, many factors. Each real estate investment result is unique as real estate itself. And with that being said, Chin, tell us about this property.
Yes. So I did my first real estate deal ever in Kentucky. It was a wholesale deal. And I just ended up loving Kentucky. I've never been to the state. Like I said, I'm in New York City, born and raised. And Kentucky is about, the other side of the world as far as I'm known. So, I've gotten a lot of success in this market and I just stayed here. So this house is a 4-bed, 1.5 bath in Louisville, Kentucky. It was in really good condition. I found it on the market. It was listed by a realtor who I had a relationship with. I had sold his client a house a couple months ago, and he sent me this house. So I was looking at it. You can keep going around. You can go through the pictures.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a nice solid house. It was already tenant occupied. That's what attracted me to it. Looked like it had good bones. It looked like it was really plug and play. It didn't look like it needed any rehab. It was already cash flowing. It was spacious. The sellers had made some upgrades to this house. So, that's what attracted me and made me want to see this through. You can keep going. There's a living room. There's a dining room area. Thought it had some unique characteristics with these like Catholic church windows right here. So I thought that
Mhm.
was pretty fancy. You can keep going. And this is the kitchen. It was really in good shape, so I had no complaints, based on the price that they wanted, based on, it was at market rent. So I knew it was going to cash flow from day one really, really nicely. So I'm going to tell you guys about my buyers since this is a wholesale deal. So I've been with my accountant, the guy who prepares my taxes for about 3 years now, 4 years about, and he's seen me go from, like there's no hope. I'm just starting off. I'm a small business to, what I've been able to build it to today. So as he's doing my taxes, he's like, "Hey, Chinedu, can you help me buy a deal? I don't have time, but I got money. I'm not really trying to learn this stuff. Can you help me do what you're doing?" So I was like, "Okay, cool, perfect. I can help you out. I can help you get into your first deal." So just having the knowledge, wholesaling is so cool because you get to leverage the knowledge and the patience that a buyer doesn't have. Like I said, it's a lot of the dirty work. We're reaching out to multiple of people, just to get one yes for this deep discount that we're looking for, right? So, I just used my knowledge, I used my resources, and I went out to go find a deal. Now, this deal is like 3 deals of sending him deals that just didn't work out. We had like 2 other properties under contract before this one in the same city, and the house just needed so much work after we got an inspection, and we just had to turn it down. So we finally got to this deal right here. I looked at it, I ran the numbers. I thought it was a great deal. I honestly would have brought it myself, if push came to shove, because it was a good deal, had nice bones, the numbers worked, and we'll get into the numbers later. And I thought it was a good investment. So I showed it to my accountant, showed him the numbers, showed him, why it's a good deal. I showed him what I saw, why I thought it was a good deal. I sold him on that. And he wanted to move forward. So, I was able to get under contract with the seller. We did a bit negotiation going back and forth. We negotiated this deal to be a seller finance deal, which I'm going to get into how that works a bit later. So I got it under contract with the seller for one price, negotiated a deal, negotiated the down payment, the purchase price, the seller finance terms, and then turned around and got my accountant under contract and just wholesaled the property to him.
Mm. It looks
So
super clean. It does.
yeah, super clean,
You might have to say that one more time because I that might have went over some people's heads, man. Say,
Okay, I was gonna say as I'm going through it, if you guys have any questions about, how this deal was structured, definitely feel free to
just,
put it in the chat.
just
Um,
say it. Go over that just one more time. I know we're gonna go over it again when we talk about the numbers, but just say that one more time.
okay, so this deal is a seller finance deal, meaning that, the seller does, so here's why the seller was selling, right? They had purchased a house and they was living in it for 2 months, and then they got a job offer in Idaho, another state nearby, and they just got up and moved, but they still had this house. They had did upgrades to like the mechanics, the paint, the floor, the bathroom, the roof, things of that nature, and they just moved out. So they put a tenant in it. They paid all cash. They had no mortgage on it. So once I saw that, they wanted 157 and I wanted to offer a lower price because, that's what we do as wholesalers, right? Offer a lower price and, sell it for a higher price. But the seller wasn't budging, right? The seller was not budging at all. So I offered them what they wanted for it, but because I saw that they had no mortgage on it, I asked the seller, hey, I'll put down X amount of dollars. Can you loan me the rest? Right? Can you loan me the rest of the money? And the seller said, sure. We don't need a chunk of money right now. We just need, monthly income. So the seller was willing to let me put down, I believe it was 15% down, right? And then they would lend me the other 85%. So I got it under contract with a down payment of 15%. And then, I just put my fee on top of that and had the buyer buy it. So that's, I turned the seller finance deal and just wholesaled it to another person, essentially.
Wow. Wow.
Nice.
A lot of little strategies in there.
All right. Now, so then was there an agent involved in this?
So there was an agent involved, but because the agent represented both of us, they got covered on the seller side. So, whatever money the seller got, the seller had to pay the agent out of their proceeds.
Mhm.
Cool. All right, and we'll if some people are still lost, okay, don't worry about it. We'll dive a little deeper into the numbers, the actual numbers, very soon.
Okay.
Just
So
type your
let's get
key
to the numbers.
questions in the chat so you don't forget it, because you might forget it. So type it in the chat.
For sure. For sure. So the knowledge, you was born learning this, right? You just knew it, osmosis.
Oh yeah, fresh for it. Yeah, first step of everything is literally the knowledge. You have to know what to do, and then go do what you know. So this is where I got my foundation from. So these classes definitely helped me get to this point right here, especially to execute this strategy. Real estate foundation just, how do you know what a good deal looks like? But how do you actually know what a good deal looks like? Like how do you run those numbers? How do you understand the market? So real estate foundation definitely helped me with that. Creative acquisition was amazing because that's where I learned, that's where I got introduced to the seller finance strategy. That strategy is so complex, knowing, how do you structure the terms, the down payment, the interest payment, the balloon. So that class is definitely a great introduction to that. And of course, negotiations were in real estate. So just knowing how to negotiate, how to, build leverage when you don't really have any leverage. Like, why would somebody even give us a loan for 85% of their house, right? Imagine giving me money to buy their house. So negotiation was definitely a great tool in this strategy also.
Awesome. Awesome.
And then of course the two strategies that I put together, this is definitely real estate hacking, right? 100% real estate hacking. So these two strategies, I put them together. seller finance. If you won't take my discount, at least give me my terms. Let's meet halfway. So learning how to execute and write up a seller finance offer, and then learning all the mechanics of wholesaling to make sure that, you know, not only do I still get paid, the buyer gets a great deal. So wholesaling and seller finance definitely helped out a lot to give me the knowledge to execute on these two strategies right here.
Oh, that's great, man. Great. Great stuff. And then this is our community, right? So if you want to connect with us and hang out, hang out, enjoy these trainings that we have on a weekly basis. This is where Chinedu got a lot of his chops in, going over deals and transactions. Get with the person who invited you to learn more about our support community. We connect, and we get into that. But let's get into our questions. Let's go. What questions do you guys have? What questions should we ask the community? We ask the investor here. What are the first questions we should ask?
How much did he make?
Ooh,
Word.
right to the mark question?
Let's get to it.
How much?
Yeah, I heard the term like what was laid out, right? What do y'all think he made on this wholesale
Yeah.
deal? How much you think he made?
What do you think his profit is? Put that in the
He
chat.
gave
What
you
would you
one
charge?
number if you were paying attention. So he
Yeah,
already
Yeah.
gave you a little bit of information.
he
So
did. That's true.
how much do y'all think he made to wholesale this property? How much did he make? And this is for the guests. Like, is everybody on the line, right? I want to see some numbers in the chat. This is where you get the chance to be the investor. Or how much would you want to make on something like this? You know what I'm saying? Like,
Okay. Bobby says 5. We got 10. It's a 4 bedroom, what? 4 bed?
one and a
Yeah,
half.
4 bed, 1.5 bath.
How many square feet?
I think about 1,600 square feet, give or take. It
Okay.
was a big house.
So you got Keena said 7K, Jeremiah said 10K, Bobby's at 5, Marky Mark is at 25K. So the lowest is 5K, highest is 25K so far. Anyone else? Oh, we got 40 people on the line. Only 10% are brave enough to throw a number.
Okay.
Come on, there's no
Terrell
right or
said
wrong.
10. Okay.
It's just fun.
Was it? Is she
I'm gonna
20?
call you Shah. Shah. I don't want to mess up your name again.
Yeah, I was gonna say she's great. Yeah.
He said 20K. Jay Lou said he made 51,000.
Jay Lou. Wow. We're
Jerry
going for the
said
home run. Home run. 51.
I'd
50.
take that.
I'll
Yeah.
take that for sure.
Jerry says 8K. Mary says 27K. I'm curious to know how
You
did you
guys
come
going with the
with
big
20,
numbers.
but 27? Like how did you come with that?
Yeah.
And 51, like not 50. Like how did you come? You really did some analysis to come up with these numbers. All right.
5 and 51 is huge. Okay.
Yeah, it's a huge spread. That's a huge
That's an interesting
spread.
spread. Okay. What's the next
Okay.
question?
You guys pick it. I picked the first one.
Uh, what was it asking? What was the wholesale fee? Was the asking price? What is it? What do you want to ask, Jerry? What do you think we should ask?
Well, you said you work with an agent on this. So I would want to know if because your guy, I don't know, man. I don't know. I
All
don't
right, let me get in
Maybe
there.
cash flow? Maybe
Yes.
the cash flow? That's what I was
What was the
thinking.
cash
Cash
flow?
flow. Remember, somebody bought it with tenants in it. So what was the
We're
cash flow?
not doing no overthinking here, just numbers,
It
right? No
is. Jerry.
explanations, just numbers. So what do y'all think the cash flow is? Because remember, he's wholesaling this, right? So it has to be something that looks decent that somebody else would want to take over and make that type of cash flow. So what do y'all think the cash flow is on this property? After all expenses, that's what cash flow is. So after all expenses paid, how much do you think that the other investor who's taking this, who should do wholesale this property to, how much do you think that they're making?
I want to know where Jay Lou is living with these numbers. Jay Lou, where you live with them numbers? $1,300 a month is great for cash flow.
He said 1,300?
Mm-hmm.
Oh man, I was on the wrong
Jay
tab.
Lou, I don't know what state you're in, but I want to go to that state.
Oh, Wanda said 10 grand on the thing. Chin had to at least get the down payment back.
2K per month?
I don't
That's what we're talking
understand.
about cash flow, guys, after all expenses. Okay, 350 is the
I
lowest.
don't understand you, Mark. We'll get to that later. So Jeremiah says, so we're gonna guess. Jeremiah, we giving a range. We're gonna say 250. So Jeremiah says 250 a month. Jay's at 1300. Emmanuel's at 500. Keena said 2K a month. So listen, let me explain this one more time. Right?
Yeah.
Just to be clear, so everyone understands, rental income is not cash flow. So please,
Mm-hmm.
everyone, don't confuse. And this way, you learn some things in real estate. A lot of people, when you say, hey, what's the cash flow? People are going to tell you, well, this is the rental income. That's not to be confused with cash flow. Rental income is just how much the tenant or how much the property brings in from people, how much it receives.
Yeah. Yeah.
You got to subtract out the expenses. So after you subtract the expenses, that is cash flow. So the
Okay, so
number we
Jay
want
goes.
to know is after you, the rental is X amount, whatever that is, the expenses is X amount. How much are you left with in cash flow? So what's your net? After
Yeah.
all expenses paid, how much do you keep basically?
Yeah. Well,
So
how much
Keena,
would you
if you
like?
got to
How much
change
would
your
you like?
number,
Yeah. How much you
change your
like to keep?
number, let us know. Or do you really feel it's 2 grand? So it's, just want to be clear.
300.
Mark says 350. Vanessa is at 300. Oh, see, so Jay's number was a rental number. Come on, Jay. Jay, now he's at 300. Reba's at 400. Come on, Keena. Oh, you don't know? Come on, Keena. Just take a guess. Reba says 400. Ms. Rosie says 500. Oh, there you go, Keena. Get in the game. No one's gonna kill you for your number. It's all good. We just, having fun with it. Did your investor pay cash or a mortgage? Well, we'll talk about that in a few.
Yeah.
Jennifer says 600. Terrell's at 300. What up, T? Wanda said, Bruno says, how long was the term? We'll get to
Good
that later.
question.
Not sure how
Good
that
question. Yeah,
matters here.
that's a good question, but yeah.
Okay, I got a question. What is the actual rent in this area? Like, because it's a 4 bedroom, 1.5 bath. What is the long-term rent there? I know you're saying the cash flow, but what is the rent?
Mm, good question. It's fair.
Well, remember, how about you look at it this way? The house is already being rented out and was already cash flowing. So, well, I guess what I'm thinking is, does the rent really matter? No one's really going to know the rent in the area. You're just looking at the situation. He said, so he gave away thing. He said the house cost 157,000. So he already gave you that number. So it's not no high end market, right? And we said Louisville, Kentucky. So, you know, it's not like no big money market, put it that way. So, and again, it's just a guess. We just, we ain't got to get crazy techie with it.
All right. We're on a profit or cash flow. Are we asking another question or are we getting right to it?
I think we get to it. That's
Okay.
enough of the questions.
So our profit range is for Chinedu is 5K to 51K, which is
And
really
then
the
we'll go
basis.
deeper with everybody else with questions they had in particular. We'll do that
Yeah,
in
yeah.
a few. No question.
And
No
Jay
problem.
Lou says stand on my numbers. This guy's crazy.
Standing on
Uh,
business. Standing on biz. I hear that, Jay.
cash flow is 250 to 600, which is
All right. Those are
fair
good
enough. Fair
numbers.
enough.
Fair, fair, fair.
Fair enough. All right. Thank you guys for
Thanks for
playing
playing
along.
along, everyone. Appreciate y'all.
We call it low stakes, getting your investor chops out there. Just trying.
Was this a creative finance deal? Absolutely. That's what he said.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. We said that in the beginning. Yep. Seller
The
finance.
numbers, you guys ready? Drum roll, please.
So, Chin, please break this down for the people.
Boom.
Let's get it. So yeah, these are all of the terms. I'm going to show you the numbers for the seller finance strategy and then the wholesale strategy. So the purchase price that we agreed on was $157,000. The seller wanted me to put down $18,000, which was fine. I agreed to it. And I made the buyer put down 28,000. So $18,000 had to come to the table. The buyer came to the table with $28,000 plus his closing cost, right? So my profit was the difference between the $18,000 my contract price and the $28,000 that the buyer put down, which was $10,000. And then I had a host transaction coordinator who handled like all the paperwork of the deal, schedule inspections, things of that nature. And I gave her $500, and I was left with $9,500 profit.
Nice.
Oh, nice. I like it.
So some people did say 10 grand in the chat. So
Definitely.
congratulations for my people who put 10 grand.
That's not
Hey,
bad.
Chin, so I'm noticing this now on a few of your transactions. Transaction coordinator. So now it seems like this is now like a part of your transactions every single time.
Is
How is this?
Lorraine here? Okay, Lorraine is not here. Yeah, you know what no one talks about in real estate is all of the admin work that is accumulated on every single transaction, right?
Mhm.
And I'm coming to the point where I don't even want to do it. I don't want to talk to a title company. I don't want to schedule no inspections. I don't want to I want to do the part that I want to do in real estate. Find deals, negotiate deals, close deals. That's what I imagined. No one talks about all the nuances and scheduling and meetings and all that nonsense. So I'm willing to pay someone else on every deal to handle that part so I can just focus on being an investor rather than doing admin work and things of that nature. So yeah, that is you'll definitely continue to see that on every deal. Me having a transaction coordinator to just handle all the fine details while I focus on high level.
Bro, that is such a golden nugget right there, y'all. I'm telling you.
That's just a boss move. That's all that is. That's just like I ain't got time. I ain't
Yeah,
got time for the
that's
petty
what that
stuff.
is. Like
That's
that's
a boss move. That's a boss move. I ain't got
because if
time
you
for the
ain't
petty
got
stuff.
other things going on, you be like, I'll do it. I'll save the $500. People like, I ain't
Yeah.
paying somebody else, right? A boss
Yeah.
move is like, yo, I'll pay someone else to do all of that stuff. Like
Yeah, take
I
care of
ain't
that, please.
that.
Take care of that. Schedule that. Follow up with them. Let me know how that goes. Let me. Anyway, so Chin has brought that to the surface for him. So we all see that. All
So now
right.
show the other side. And Keena, we're gonna answer that question in just a second.
Nice. So yeah, wholesale deal is only as good as it is for the buyer. So yes, I made 9,500, but the buyer also got a great deal, right? So the rental income is $1,500. Taxes and insurance is $210. Property management, 10%, 150, vacancy 5%, maintenance 5%, 75 apiece, and his monthly note payment to the seller. The seller gave him a loan for 138,000, I believe it is, and his monthly payment is 575. I got that
Hmm.
negotiated to interest only, so he can keep more of the cash flow. And the buyer is going to cash flow $415 every single month, which was a fantastic deal for him.
Yeah, for sure.
Does anyone need more clarification? If you need more clarification on these numbers, throw a C in the chat. If you're good, throw a G in the chat.
Now, for my novices on the line who are like, "Oh man, that's not enough to live on." Listen, it's that, but he's getting a lot of other incentives as well. There's a
Yeah,
lot of tax incentives. Everybody's like, "Oh, that's it." Now, there's a lot goes into the rentals. A lot of tax uh, incentives for that. So you definitely do well with that.
yeah, and this is one deal. What we're
Yeah,
taught
exciting.
in the education is, you're definitely not going to get rich or change your life on one deal. So real estate makes sense. Like you got to keep doing it, and that's where, the income really starts coming in and the wealth starts building over time. So this is one of many deals that we'll probably do together.
Yeah, that's
Imagine
good,
that
man.
for
This is an awesome deal right here. This is great. This is great. So again, you can follow this gentleman. I mean, this guy. This is somebody I talk to now, right? I was chasing to talk to him. He was chasing to talk to me. I was chasing to talk to him, right? But he's somebody we all go to. Big Chinedu relationship rich. Again, you can follow Jason Bar Razor J Ruff, and myself. And let's get to the Q&A. What questions do you guys have? Questions.
All right, let's get to the questions. We got plenty of time here.
we
So
got
let's
nice turnout.
Nice turnout. And Big Ryan's here. What's up, Big Ryan?
You know Ryan gonna have a question.
That's
For
right.
sure.
Okay, I'm scrolling to the top. So if anyone has questions, please type them in the chat. And I'm going all the way to the top. And I'm gonna start scrolling down now. And I'm gonna ask questions. So Emmanuel says, where did you find your deal? He kicks it off. Good question.
Yes, I found a deal on Zillow. And then, after seeing the person listed it, I was like, oh, I know this guy. So I just called him up and asked him about it.
All right, now I'm gonna ask you a question on a different level, right? So we're
Okay.
talking wholesaling, right? How do I say this? Most times when people look at wholesale transactions, they're usually going to be wholesale to somebody who's gonna do fix and flip, right? So you looked at the property right away, and what you was saying earlier, you said, oh, you saw that it was free and clear, whatever, and stuff like that. Like, how did you come to that realization, like to start wholesaling rentals? Because that's usually not what most people think of when they think about wholesaling.
Okay. If I can go all the way back, right? When I first saw this deal, I was gonna buy it. Like me and Ryan were gonna buy it. We ran the numbers, we underwrote it, and we determined that, if we buy it and we raise money for the down payment, there's no cash flow for us. So, we kind of threw this deal away. But it was still a good deal, If someone was gonna put their own down payment, we knew it was still a good deal. So, you okay? So if there's a tenant in there, you can't just kick them out so you can fix and flip it, especially if you have a lease. And then most importantly, you guys saw the house. The house is in great condition, good bones. The seller updated so many things within the last 15 months that, there was no value you can add to it that the market was going to pay. Right. So it was already at market value. It had a tenant in it. So, and the seller wanted to sell. It cash flowed positive. So, just seeing those signals right there, that, I can make money selling this to another investor that's looking to hold the deal and cash flow rather than just flip it. So this property wasn't the right profile for a fix and flip potential deal.
Got you. Okay, so that sounds like more knowledge, right? Because most people aren't going to be able to look at a property right away and just be like, because they're probably going to look at it again to just fix and flip. And once, they say, okay, I can't, move this to a fix and flipper, most people kind of just tap out and be like, all right, next, let me go look at another. So it sounds like the fact that you have more knowledge, understanding how you could kind of structure it for a landlord, so to speak, or a rental situation, it makes sense. So that's pretty good, man. That's not
And that's crazy because if the people to your comment that people would skip a deal because they can't sell it to a flipper, I think it's so much easier to wholesale rentals than flips because with a flip, you need like a deep discount, and a lot of people are not willing to give, 30, 40, 50 cents on the dollar for you to, wholesale their house. But on a rental, I don't need a deep discount. Like I said, the 157 is pretty much market value, right? So, you can buy properties at market value if they cash flow and still wholesale it to an end buyer who really cares about the cash flow and they'll hold it over time to capture that appreciation. So, I don't have to offer pennies on the dollar just to lock up a deal and make money. So I think wholesaling rentals is way easier than wholesaling properties that need work.
say that louder for the people in the
I
back.
I agree. I totally agree.
Hey, Chen, so when you say because we hear this a lot, I found the deal on wherever, right? You found a lead and you structured the terms which created a deal, right? And so the misconception, like all the time, be, oh, I just can go and look on Zillow and find the deal, right? And so, the question I want to ask you is, how important is it that you understand all the rest of the strategies, such as like short-term rental? You was able to analyze this as a long-term rental and get that. So, how important to you do you feel is it that you need to know as a wholesaler, you need to know other strategies?
Yeah, especially as a wholesaler, like I said, we do a lot of the dirty work. Like if you're doing a wholesale strategy, it's the dirty work because you need to know as many exit strategy as possible just so you can have, more of an audience to sell your deal to. So I need to learn how to run my numbers for a flip. I need to learn how to run my numbers for a buy and hold, for um a value add, for just various strategies, short-term rentals, lease options. Because if I can, it just helps me structure that deal better so I can sell it to someone else. So it's definitely great to learn as many exit strategies as you can because you can look at one property in multiple ways, right? Like if I only knew it as, one strategy, when I looked at it and ran the numbers for me and Ryan to buy it, and I saw it didn't work, we would have threw it away. Like this would have been the end of that deal. We would have never spoke about it again. But, being able to look at it from another lens, I knew, okay, it doesn't work for us, but it can work for somebody else who's coming in with their own money, not borrowing it. So it's so important to know those different exit strategies so you can, run numbers on a deal multiple ways, multiple scenarios, just to see, how you can make it work if there's something to be worked up.
Yes. Well said. All right, so I hope people are taking notes on all that conversation right there, because wholesaling, there's definitely a lot to it, more than what meets the eye. And knowing how to structure is important. All right. All right, so I'm still scrolling down. Please keep your questions, throw them in the chat. We got a lot of time, and it doesn't look like that many. All right, so here we go. We just answered that question, but we're going to ask it again. J. Lou wants to know, did your investor pay cash or mortgage?
Gotcha. So the investor paid cash for their portion of the down payment plus my assignment fee, and the seller gave them a mortgage for the rest.
All right, so let me explain that a little bit more, because Jay, you're asking a great question. Let's just kind of help everybody else understand this question a little bit more, because there technically isn't a mortgage as far as probably most people are thinking, because typically a mortgage is created from a bank, right? This is seller financing, meaning really in reality a note was created, right? So a note was created between the seller and the buyer, who pretty much Chinedu wholesaled this property to. So basically what he's doing is the buyer is actually paying the seller. So the great thing about this is, if you guys realize, the reason that the seller got the property is because they probably wanted cash flow. They threw a tenant in there, they're getting cash flow. So when a property is free and clear, you can now leverage that equity in the house, which is what the seller did. So it's great for them, but it's also great for the buyer, because now you don't got to go out and get a mortgage, pay these high interest rates and all of this stuff. You could just structure something with them, use the equity in the house, and then it's a happy place, because now you as the buyer didn't have to go get a mortgage. Your credit doesn't get checked, right? All of that stuff goes out the window. And now all you do is create a relationship with that seller. They're happy because now they're creating that cash flow that they wanted in the first place. That's why they got the property, and everyone's happy. So the buyer gets into the property with little to no money. Think about it. They acquired a $157,000 property. They got into it for only 28 grand, including paying Chinedu for structuring it for them. That's sweet. And now they're only paying five something a month. Great situation. So there is no true mortgage. It's just really a note, and leveraging the equity that was already inside the property because it was already free and clear. Hope that helps you a little bit more. All right. And if anyone's still not clear on that, just throw it in the chat and we'll see if we could clear that up a different way. All right. Wanda wants to know, how long was the term?
Okay, so the seller wanted a 5-year balloon.
Okay. See. So Alvin wants to know, are you transferring the term payments to the end buyer?
So when I hear transfer, I'm thinking of like, I closed on the deal. So I didn't close on the deal. I just had the right to execute on the terms that we negotiated, and I sold the rights to the buyer. So the buyer he's now in position to take over and execute on every term that we negotiated. The down payment, the interest only payments that I think he got a 5% interest rate and a 5-year balloon.
Keena wants to know, why would someone be interested in a wholesaler when they have an agent?
Great question, because agents are investors, so not to downplay agent. Like I said, I got this deal from an agent, so I love agents. I love any real estate professional that's gonna help me move towards my goal, and if that's an agent, then 100%, I'll work with them all day long. But the biggest difference about a wholesaler and an agent, the agents are really taught the legalities of real estate and how to coordinate a deal. And wholesalers, the good wholesalers, right, the knowledgeable ones are taught how to think like an investor. So I know what's a good investment property and not just a good property. Like I know how to run the numbers that the investor and buyer is going to be running, where an agent may not be able to, you know. So that's the benefit of using a wholesaler. They think like you and they should have your best interests because they know they only make money if you make money and if you see how you can make money. So that's, an agent kind of passes you a deal and be like, hey, run your numbers, let me know if you like it, and I'll go to bat for you. And I'm like, hey, I ran the numbers, look at my numbers, here's how I'm justifying it. This is how you're going to make money. So that I think that's the biggest difference between the wholesaler and the agent and why we're so beneficial.
So let me add on to that. So Keena asked that question. So to add on to that, how were you actually able to um basically present this to the agent so that the agent wouldn't feel like cut out of the deal, so to speak, so they don't get their commission? Like how do you go about that?
Okay, so two things, right? And that's a great question because a lot of agents aren't comfortable with the wholesaling strategy. Um,
Absolutely.
Two things. One, I knew that the agent got paid by the seller, right? Um, and two, I already had a relationship with this agent because I sold the agent's client a property, maybe like a couple months ago. But let's take that part out of it. Let's say I met this agent fresh because I've wholesale deals through agents that I've never met before, no history whatsoever. It's just, coming having confidence in that conversation, just like, hey, we're gonna close. Like I ran the numbers, we want this deal, we're gonna close. So just having confidence in that conversation with the agent to believe that, okay, this person's a closer, they're gonna get it done. So you push as much as possible to portray that you're gonna get it done, you guys are gonna close, and then you put that pressure on your buyer, you like hey, this is a deal. Like, does this deal actually work for you before I go through all this hassle, right? So knowing it's a good deal, you know, portraying that confidence that you're gonna close so the agent can actually work with you, right? Because I'm under the understanding that agents don't really like wholesalers because it's not guaranteed. Your buyer can walk away at any
Mm-hmm.
moment and then we've just tied down the deal and we've lost time. That's what the agent's thinking. So, like I said, coming with that confidence, letting the agent know that you guys are going to close. You're going to have a buyer for this price, no problem. You ran the numbers, you got the buyer lined up. Let's do it. Let's lock this up. So I think the confident piece is the biggest thing that's going to get you that deal with the agent.
Mm,
So,
thank you.
so you base, I just want to say too, because so the agent's challenge is you a wholesaler, you trying to get this for less than the selling price. That means I'm going to get less money. I don't even want to present this offer to your seller, right? Because I'm going to get less money. So is that what you're saying?
Um, that's not what I'm saying, but that's one of the scenarios because that's also a good point, because me as a wholesaler, if I really need it at this low price, then the agent's going to make less. But if it's an actual like a real agent, like one that does the market research, knows the market, what property should be selling for, they're gonna understand that the market is just a market, like an agent's gonna know like if they hear my offer, that's low. We can get more than that. I'm not even entertaining that. But they can also hear my offer and be like, yeah, this seller's overpriced. This house has been sitting for about 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 50 days. The market is saying that we're priced too aggressively, and this is what they're actually willing to pay. So all of these scenarios happen, so it's not, I can't just put a cap on it and expect all of it to fit. So yeah, there's so many scenarios. Every deal is different. Um, at that point, you just got to read the room almost.
But here's the great thing, right? This now goes back to what you said earlier in that it's it's I don't want to say easier, but it's simpler to wholesale market value properties because now that coincides with what you're saying because I'm not really looking to drive the price down lower. Like you even said, it was on the market for the 157. You weren't looking to lowball them for like 100,000 or something. You were like, yo, that's a good number. Let's move with it, right? So
Hmm.
that's another thing when you're looking at it from a rental perspective. You can buy a property at market value for a rental and it still cash flows. However, it may not be good for a fix and flip. So understanding that definitely helps as well.
100%.
All right. So Jeremiah, I think this is the question you want to get out, right? How long was the house on the market before you came in?
I think like 5 days. Let me just look really quickly. Like this house was not on the market for long whatsoever. Let's see. So this house went up on the market on it went on the market March 6th, 2026 for 157,998, and I got it under contract on the 13th. So 7 days. 7 days it was on the market and it
Quick,
sold on the 24th.
quick.
Yeah.
All right. Big
I
Ryan.
was I was due for an easy one. About time.
Yeah, that was quick.
Yeah,
The wholesaling gods blessed you, man. They
about
blessed you.
time.
About time. So Ryan is here. He said, can you talk about the difference using your money for the DP down payment versus using a PML, private money lender, for the down payment? So like, can you explain the difference?
Gotcha. Yeah. So like I said in the beginning, I brought this deal to Ryan's attention to say, hey, we should buy this deal, right? This is a good deal. Like everything I explained to the investor, I explained to Ryan why it would be good for our portfolio. But our thing is like we don't want to put down no money, so we'll raise the money through a bank or the seller to put down a chunk of it, and then we'll raise the rest of the down payment through a private money lender. So if we got a private money lender to put down the entire down payment and closing costs so we can be out of pocket $0, we have to pay them monthly. And
Mm-hmm.
that monthly payment was going to eat up the cash flow. It wasn't even enough for one person. Imagine both of us, right? So that's why we passed on the deal. But my accountant, who has his own cash just stored in a savings account, if he uses his own money to put the down payment, he doesn't have to pay anyone back but himself. So his portion that he's receiving every month is way bigger. So, you're definitely in a stronger position on a cash flow standpoint if you have your own capital because you get to recoup faster and it gives you, access to more deals opposed to if you're looking to raise the money for the down payment because your margins are more slimmer. So, you could definitely do deals with no money. We've done it plenty of times. I've done it plenty of times. But the number of deals that we can actually execute is lower because we have to do all the numbers and include the private money lender in there. But if you have your own cash, you can definitely take down more deals than someone who doesn't have their own cash. But both can be done. Both can definitely be done. So you don't have to think, I can't do deals because I got no money. Like, nah, you can definitely do deals without your money. Whether it's a wholesale, whether it's you want to be the buy and hold investor, whether you want to be the flipper, it's definitely possible to do it with or without your own cash.
Cool. How many people would have done that deal right there? Because think about it. What you're doing is you're taking what the investor did. He took 28 grand. He invested 28 grand to make, what was it, 400, a little
Yeah,
400 a month.
14 a month. Yeah.
So you invest 28 grand to make about 400, and then you have all the other,
416. How much was it? 400 and what?
it was
I
like
think 415.
415, something like that.
415 for 5 years. That's $10,000.
Yeah,
Mhm.
it's a 17% return on investment every year. Can't
Okay,
get that nowhere else.
cool. Yeah, I just want people to kind of understand it a little bit more to
Yo,
see.
JP Morgan Chase, right, is giving out 0.01% on your checking account. So imagine getting 17% on your money parked, right? Safe, backed by real assets,
Right,
not paper money. So gotta
fact,
love real estate.
Point
fact.
zero is
Yeah,
insulting.
point zero, right? That's crazy.
For
But that's reality though. Let's keep it up, you know what I mean? All right. Emmanuel said, how did you find your end buyer? Oh man, you
Nice.
talked about
So
it.
yeah, relationships. I think the best, and I've been wholesaling for about 4 years now, and I won't say I've been through it all, but man, I've been so frustrated dealing with, random buyers that I have no relationship with, and even when you try to build them, some of them are just so straight to business that you can't really get to understand, how they're buying. So, I had this relationship who had money but no time, no knowledge. Like it's tax time. There was no way my accountant was getting out there, making phone calls, looking for deals, analyzing deals. So, I had the knowledge. I found somebody in my relationship that trusted me, that had money, and I was able to go out, find a deal, knowing that I have a buyer secured. If I can find a good deal that meets his standard, I have a buyer secured. So that's how I found my buyer. And when you have, a buyer like that, you're more confident throwing out offers because you can get it closed for sure.
Cool. Oh, this is a long one. So Mary wants to know. Oh, yeah, you're gonna have to clarify this for. Okay. She said you spoke about the seller putting up financing towards the transaction. What is the benefit of borrowing from the seller the 28K? So that didn't happen, but we'll explain. Why would they agree to this? Can you explain the theory behind this and why the structure worked this deal? Work with this.
Okay.
So yeah, can we explain how it's structured?
Okay, so how this was structured. So I'm going to talk about the structure and I'm going to talk about why would somebody, loan somebody else money to buy their house. It is kind of crazy, right? Um, so the deal was the seller wanted 15% down and they were going to finance the remaining 85%. So purchase price 157. I had to put down 18K. The seller will, give me a loan or the end buyer a loan for the rest. So that's the structure, right? And, there's a few reasons like this seller and many sellers give out seller finance deals to purchase their house. So one, this is a tertiary market, meaning it's a secondary market. So typically in secondary markets, the values are so low that most people can't qualify for a loan, whether it's because cost of living is low, minimum wage is low. So a lot of people can't qualify to buy a house, right? Because of how much they make, because of their credit scores. So sellers are incentivized to seller finance their house because most people can't get a loan. So if I have an asset, I want to sell it, but nobody qualifies for it traditionally, I'm going to be the bank because they can't get a bank loan. So that's one. And two, we have the biggest scam in America where anything I do, I got to give the government 40%, right? So the sellers put their hard-earned money in this property. If they would have sold it at 157, no mortgage, the government is taking 40% of that. which is a scam, right? No one wants to lose that much money for an asset they own, right? So the seller was willing to only take 18,000, get taxed on 18,000, but still receive monthly income so they can keep more of their money on the sale. So, those are the two main reasons this seller was willing to do seller finance in this market. Pay less taxes and they get a bigger buyer pool to sell their property to.
Oh, you went a little deeper. You went a little deeper with freaking taxes, avoiding the capital gains, baby, those taxes. So yes, that is another good thing about doing seller financing, right? Now that seller did it, because if they would have took the 157,000 up front, they would have got hit with all them taxes. But if you structure it this way, life is sweet. You definitely, evade a lot of taxes. So that's definitely another added bonus for those who may not have known that. All right. Debbie wants to know, would this work with a tax lien? I'm not sure. Let's see.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Sure.
This part is what I'm not sure about.
Let me see. Debbie, if you can come off mute, I'm not sure with this. Do you mean the structuring of it, or I don't know what she
If
means.
she's talking about a seller being in trouble and getting out of the tax lien situation, nah. But
She's not.
clarify. I want to know. Clarify.
I don't think she's here. Yeah, she's not here. Oh well. Yeah, I'm not sure what this. I'm not sure what she means by the question. All right, sorry. Next up, Reba wants to know what was the interest rate? 5%, right?
5%. Yeah, 5%.
James is here. He wants to know, Mr. Gavin, what is the reason the owner wanted to sell?
They had got a job offer in Idaho, and the company was willing to pay for their housing expenses, which was pretty cool. So, they just got up and left.
Okay. Thank you, Alvin, for helping out Javine. And then we got, of course, Mark would ask that question. What was the agent's commission?
Mark, what in the
Oh man, the agent actually made $7,500. So the agent got a nice payday on the smooth transaction as well.
And look at that. And you made more than the agent. That's
Yeah.
crazy. You made more than the agent. All right, nice. So Keena wants to know, so this was considered a short sale? No,
No, no, not a short sale, wholesale.
wholesale, wholesale. Short sale is basically when the bank takes over and you're dealing with the bank. This was with the seller who didn't even have, and remember, the bank is taking over the house because it was a mortgage on it. That was a lien or something that wasn't being paid. This property was already free and clear. The original person who was selling it, when they bought it, they paid cash, so it didn't have a mortgage. It was free and clear. So short sale, wouldn't come into play. If you need more explanation on that, Keena, I don't know, we could maybe help you out. Alvin wants to know, couldn't the agent have the same challenge with losing the transaction if the client fails to come up with financing to close?
Yeah, 100%, yeah, 100%. That's why if I was an agent, speaking from an agent's perspective, I'm not an agent, but if I was just thinking like them, I have my own challenges finding buyers. I don't want to deal with somebody else who I'm going to put my hope in who's going to have a challenge finding buyers as well. Like I can do battle by myself. So why would I want to do with a wholesaler that's looking to do what I'm doing also?
What time is it? Oh, we got time. So Ryan wants to know, no, he said, if you have your own cash, you have more options, but I think you only use your own cash, then you're likely to do less deals. Well, that depends how deep your pockets are.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I'm saying, so you never know. Emmanuel says, did you come up with the terms? Oh, good question. Did you come up with the terms and how did you come up with the terms that you used? That's a good question.
Yes, great question. I did come up with the terms, and the terms that I used was, like I said, yeah, I don't know if you heard me earlier, Manuel. I said I would have brought this deal, right? So I ran the deal for myself, right? Like even if I couldn't buy it, I'm still gonna run it for myself because if I can make sense of it, I can sell somebody else on it, right? So if I can run the numbers and say, okay, at these numbers, it's gonna cash flow, I would buy it. I can justify it and it's easier for me to sell it to someone else. Like, yo, this is a great deal, great condition, great location, area is growing, rents is rising, and cash flow is $400, So I'm running the deal like I'm doing it for myself, even if I can't afford it. So that's how I came up with the terms. If I was to buy this, what do I need it at? And after I know that, boom, now I'm gonna put somebody else in a position to buy it at how I could have made sense of it.
Oh. Emmanuel says 1031 tax exchange. That doesn't not in this scenario, unfortunately, because to do the 1031 tax exchange, it would the person who sold the property would have to, and you'll have a time period with that you have to go buy another investment property. So that is another way to, kind of hold off on the taxes. But in this scenario, I'm not sure if the seller was looking to go buy another property or anything like that, but I'm not really sure how that would apply here.
Yeah.
Terrell says, how much will they get taxed?
So tax would have been 40%, depending on their tax bracket. So, 157, I'm gonna times it by 40%. Imagine you have 150,000, 157,000, and the government is demanding you to give them 62K. Come on. I can give you 62K. So, doing seller finance was the best strategy for them to not lose 60K to the government. They got 18,000. If they paid 40% of that, they only have to pay 7,200. So imagine still getting your 157,000, but only giving the government 7,200 instead of $62,000.
And you're actually going to get the money, but getting it the way you wanted it, like cash flow on a rental, but not having to deal with the rental. And then actually you get more because you're getting interest on top of. So you can actually get more than 157,000.
Exactly. So big win, big F you to the government.
Yeah. This is real estate, y'all. So Emmanuel's got another question. Yes, I could if the owner off the tax and owed then agree on a seller finance deal with the seller. Don't understand. I'm not sure what you're saying there, Emmanuel. So now instead of 40%, we just answered that. The agent got a pocket watched. So you don't pay taxes. 1031, you don't pay taxes. You what's the word?
You offset your taxes.
There you go. But you push them out, basically. What's the word?
You're like evading it rather than
Right.
avoiding
You're
it.
like avoiding it, you're pushing it off. So you don't have to pay them then, right? At the time.
Yeah,
Because
you delaying your tax payment, your
delay.
tax
That's the word I'm looking.
obligation.
There you
Delay the tax obligation, yes.
go. Right. Okay. I think that's it. Cool. All right, no problem. You got it, Emmanuel. No problem. All right. Anyone's got anything else? I'm liking the non-governmental involvement, but I'm not understanding all the parts of the wholesale deal yet. All right, Keena, you got to help us. What parts you don't understand? We got time, but if real quick, Ron, you can come close us out real quick. That was the last of the questions, and then we could do a
Okay.
bonus round to help Keena if she's still. But Keena, give us some thought. What part of it
Yeah.
don't you understand? We can help clarify it for you. So just give us some thought and we'll be right here.
Okay. Let me get my slides up here. It's a learning situation, guys. You guys are learning. Chin got, Chin always got a deal for the brain, so you got to think. All right. So anyway, you got to think. You can't just go, oh, this 1 + 1 is 2. You got to do some intricate. Anyway, so my guy Chinedu, follow him. Relationship Rich, myself, Jerry, Big J, lifting them big dumbbells. And again, if you want to learn more about our community or next steps, we have live call trainings with the man himself, Mark, at 7 p.m. tomorrow. We have business acceleration training Thursday night at 8:30, tomorrow 8:30 as well. What's not listed, which you can be private in, is the STR Nation, which is that's private. I'll be on there. And then on Friday, we have the real estate study group session at 7 with Big Jerry going deep. I gotta figure out what training he's going to do, but we'll find out soon. So, if the person who invited you want to learn more, give the person who invited you if you want to learn more.
That was a
And
dig. That was
again,
a
for those
dig.
people who have those questions, this is good to be around investors so you can learn along with us. That's what we do. So, give the person who invited you say, "Hey, man, I want to know more about this. You guys are. This is not the average wholesale deal I see on YouTube. This is a little different. This hits a little different." Because it's more intricate. It's deal structure, which is what we teach, which we kind of practice here. That's that. Let me stop.
All right. So another question just popped up with, could you wholesale on rent with option to buy? I'm gonna let y'all take that one. I wouldn't do a rent with the option to buy. It would probably be better with the lease option. But yeah, there you go. That's what Ryan just said as well.
Yeah, you can wholesale the option.
Yeah, in this community here, we don't never, ever, ever do a rent to own. Never. That's never even an option. We always lease to own, right? Never rent to own.
I have a question. Hello?
Patricia?
Yes, I was trying to type it, but I just couldn't do it. So I heard you say that the seller wanted a 5-year balloon and the monthly note is 515. So for how many years is he paying the 515?
Five.
He's yeah, for 5 years.
For 5 years he's paying 515, and then after 5 years the rest is a balloon. Is that right?
Yeah,
Please,
so at the
the
five
rest of
years,
okay.
I was gonna say, so at the 5 year mark, the buyer has a few options. They can either sell the house, pay the seller the rest of the balloon, keep the profit, if any, or they can just, refinance and put an actual bank loan on it and give the seller back the balloon payment.
Okay. Okay, got it. So 515 for 5 years, and then after 5 years, he can do those other options.
Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Good question. I was wondering if somebody was going to ask that. Well, after the 5 years. Good question, Patricia. Very good question.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Anyone else? Tina, did you figure it out or what? Talk to us. We got
You got to stick close,
10
Keenan.
minutes.
That's why, Keenan. Come on now.
10 minutes. 10 minutes. Or anybody else for that matter. Any last questions, last thoughts? Please feel free to fire away.
Just a little side note. I found out today that our wholesaling instructor is now a billionaire. So learning from him how to wholesale might be something you want to do. I just found
Damn.
that out today. That was nice.
Nice. Very nice.
Oh, wow.
That's crazy.
That is crazy.
He gets busy though. He definitely gets busy. He gets busy. All right. Well, if there's anything else, I guess we can get out of here early then, guys. Your man Chris, Ryan
Chris Wilson, baby.
Wilson, the cowboy. Ryan hates him.
Yeah, I'm not the fun.
Ryan likes Chris Alvin.
Yeah. That's it. No more
Right.
questions. You guys are done. I guess they're done.
Yeah, I guess that's it.
Hey, Malia. Malia's here. How you doing? Let's see here. Who
All
else?
right. Well, we can get out of here then, man. We can get out of here early. Everybody get your time back. Enjoy the rest of your night. I'm gonna get into some NBA action over here. That's it. Keena, you ain't got nothing?
Keena's gone. I think she's gone.
All
I
right.
think when we closed it out, she got confused and she's gone. Yeah, I'll hit her
Okay.
up.
Problem.
Yeah, she's been hanging. She's been checking us out for a while. Gotta listen. Gotta tap in full time.
All right, everyone. Well, y'all enjoy the rest of your night. Tomorrow is what? Thursday. Oh, we got Big Jerry in the morning, like we said, topic time. I'm not sure what he's doing on Friday either. Um, you never know what Jerry's gonna talk about.
you do not know.
Never know. But it's always good. Always good stuff. All right, y'all. I'm out of here. Y'all enjoy the rest of your night. It was great seeing everyone. We back at it in the morning. Team members, you already know what's up.
Peace.
Shaw, I'll
Good
catch
night,
you.
everybody.
Later. Go be great.
Good night.